Minority community in Bangladesh, especially Hindus, is a chilling reminder of a possible agenda, an agenda to perhaps wipe out this minority altogether. They're down to 7% in the last 7 decades, ladies and gentlemen, from about 25%. Yesterday, that means on Wednesday, we told you how the Bangladesh army and police personnel attacked Hindus in Chattogram or Chittagong. They were protesting peacefully against the entire slander campaign against ISKCON, also trying to just underline the 8 core demands that they've been making there, which included protection of religious places and institutions that belong to Hindus, protection of Hindu businesses and also the locals. These are Bangladeshi who are asking their own country and in their own government and their own security establishment to allow them to remain safe. Now, we also connected live with a Bangladesh Hindu who narrated on phone what transpired in Chittagong. Here on this edition, we get you the ground reality. The visuals that you see on your channel show how Hindus have been brutally assaulted by the Bangladesh security personnel, including the army, while in custody. There are also visuals of security personnel damaging CCTV footage. There are visuals, pictures which are so terrifying that viewer discretion is requested and required. We have tried to and temper down the videos, change the colors so that the impact can be reduced. Some of them, these are all pictures of them being beaten in custody, ladies and gentlemen. Beaten up while in custody. There are videos that we have accessed where these locals can be heard shouting from the army camps, shouting at the top of their voice because of the brutality with which they're being beaten up. We spoke to a Bangladesh Hindu in Chittagong who's still there, but he's so frightened that he didn't want his identity to be disclosed. For the reasons of his personal safety, we are withholding his name and even we have distorted the audio. They not only didn't want to come on camera or on video, but they wanted their audio also distorted, saying they will recognize my voice. The Bangladesh Hindu citizens' revelations force us to ask whether or not this interim government and also the security establishment there, including the army, is actually hand in glove working in cahoots with the fundamentalist radical elements who seem to be getting a free run in Bangladesh. Listen into this conversation. But listen into this conversation.
आप जब चट्टोग्राम में ये वायलेंस हुआ था तब आप वहाँ मौजूद थे, आप हमें बताएंगे कि वहाँ हुआ क्या है?
जहाँ ये घटना हुआ, ये हजारी गली, ये हिंदू अध्युषित इलाका है, ठीक है, उसमें हिंदू ज्यादा रहते हैं, तो उसमें वो एक पोस्ट डाला इसमें फेसबुक में, जो इस्कॉन जंगी संगठन है, आतंकवादी संगठन है, ऐसे लिख कर दिया। तब कुछ समय बाद आर्मी ने आकर उनको उठा ले गया। तो इसके बाद आर्मी आकर पूरा उसमें हिंदू को उसमें सीसीटीवी कैमरा को पहले तोड़ दिया, सारी जितना सीसीटीवी कैमरा था उससे तोड़ दिया, घर घर जाकर हिंदू को मारा पीटा एकदम। और उस दिन 200 से ज्यादा लोगों को अरेस्ट किया और 80 लोगों को अरेस्ट करके रखा और बाकी जो लोग है उसको छोड़ दिया। जिसको छोड़ दिया तो वो लोग एक्चुअली उसको किसी को 5 लाख, किसी को 3 लाख, किसी को 2 लाख, ऐसे जिसके तरफ जितना लेना संभव है उतना लेकर उसको छोड़ा। रेजिम चेंज होने का बाद जो हिंदुओं को मंदिर को अटैक करते, हिंदुओं को घर को आग जलाने दिया जाते हैं, ये इसके पीछे एक ही कारण है, इसका मकसद एक ही है, ये बांग्लादेश में हिंदू भागना चाहिए और हिंदुओं को जो लैंड है, प्रॉपर्टीज है, ये पूरा कट्टर मुसलमान ने ये ग्रेप कर लेंगे। पहले तो आर्मी ने ले गया, आर्मी ने उसको कैंप में ले गया, उनको पूरा मारा पीटा, रात में सारी जख्म किया और सुबह उनको कोर्ट में उठाया। बट अभी बहुत सारी ऐसा न्यूज आ रहे हैं, बहुत सारे लोगों को अभी उनको निखोज है, उनको मिला नहीं जाते हैं। हाँ, अभी पाते हैं और ऐसे 1-2 लोगों को भी मौत भी हुआ।
इस्कॉन के पीछे क्यों है? ये इस्कॉन को टेररिस्ट बताने का काम क्यों कर रहा है? पुलिस का ब्रीफिंग में भी कुछ ऐसा ही बोला गया।
इस्कॉन क्या करते हैं, ये प्रसाद खिलाते हैं लोगों को, सेवा का काम करते हैं, पूजा आदि करते हैं। कोई इस्कॉन को जंगी बताते हैं, इस्कॉन को कोई साधु सन्यासी को हाथ में कोई रिवॉल्वर मिला, किसी को पास कोई शस्त्र मिला, कुछ भी नहीं है। ये शस्त्र चलाने भी नहीं जानते, ये सिर्फ पूजा पाठ जानते। एक्चुअली क्या है, पूरा हिंदू समाज बांग्लादेश में जो बांग्लादेश के नेशनल फ्लैग, इसको बहुत हम इज्जत करते हैं। क्यों, बांग्लादेशी जो फ्लैग है, ये जो डिजाइन किया, ये जो बनाया, ये सिद्धार्थ ने बनाया, ये वो एक हिंदू है पहले।
आप लोग सब कहाँ पे हैं अभी? आप लोग सब वहाँ पर हैं, छुपे हुए हैं? क्या रीजन है कि आप लोग खुल के सामने नहीं आ रहे हैं?
ये तो ये सामने आएंगे तो बांग्लादेश में नहीं रह सकते हैं। बहुत सारे ऐसे लोग हैं बांग्लादेश से भागना पड़े, करोड़ों लोग हिंदुओं को भागना पड़े, तो हम सामने आएंगे तो हमको भागना पड़े और हमको मार दिया जाएगा। ऐसे ये जो अभी जो इंटरिम गवर्नमेंट चल रहा है, जो भी सही में, तो उसको साजिश से ही मुझे लगता है ये जो आर्मी ने, पुलिस ने जो वाहिनी जो अटैक किया, ये पूरा साजिश करके प्री प्लान किया गया।
तो इस लेवल का अगर इंटिमिडेशन है, तो आपने बांग्लादेश सरकार से कुछ नहीं कहा? जो इंटरिम एडवाइजर है, जो इंटरिम सरकार है, उसका क्या एटीट्यूड है? कंप्लेन करने जाएं तो कुछ सुनते हैं?
एक्चुअली हम तो पहले से बोलते हैं, जो हमारा पहले गवर्नमेंट है, रनिंग जो इंटरिम गवर्नमेंट है, जो भी गवर्नमेंट है, ये सारी हम उनको पहले विश्वास करते हैं, ये कमिटमेंट देते हैं, सारी मीडिया के सामने सब बोलते हैं ये हम नॉन कम्युनल है, हम असाम्प्रदायिक है। बट उनको जो एटीट्यूड है, ये लग रहा है ये पूरा ऊपर मुंह में एक बोलते हैं, उनको अंदर में दिल में अलग है। हमारा एक ही सॉल्व होगा मुझे लगता है, ये तो मेरा मन ऐसे है, जे हमारा अलग कोई लैंड कर दिया जाएगा तो सेफ रहेगा। हिंदुओं के लिए हमारा 1 और 2 डिवीजन, बांग्लादेश में 1 डिवीजन है, 1-2 डिवीजन हिंदुओं के लिए अलग कर दिया जाए, ये पूरा एकदम सोल्यूशन होगा। इंडोनेशिया ये इस्लामिक कंट्री है, बट उसमें हिंदू अच्छा है। क्यों? उसमें बाली जो आइलैंड है, बाली द्वीप, उसमें हिंदू अकेला ही हिंदू ही रहते हैं, उसमें और कोई नहीं रहते। इसलिए बांग्लादेश में शांति होने के लिए हम चाहते हैं 1 और 2 डिवीजन हिंदुओं के लिए छोड़ दिया जाए।
Give us 1 or 2 divisions in Bangladesh separately, just like Bali is kept safe for Hindus as only for Hindus in Indonesia. Give us 2 divisions in Bangladesh if Hindus need to survive in Bangladesh. This is what the person had to say. Some very, very chilling details that out of 200 people who are picked up by the army, 80 are still being beaten up and they are being coerced to make statements against ISKCON and other Hindu Sangatans, institutions. This person also went on to say that many Hindu leaders were targeted, Bangladeshi Hindu leaders and saints were targeted and there have been assassination attempts. But what's the reason behind this entire sequence of events and the way it is turning out? Is there an agenda behind this entire crackdown against Hindus? Why are radicals getting a free run? Is there something more to it than meets the eye? Well, this is what intel sources are revealing. Our security affairs editor Manoj Kumar Gupta getting us these details, that this stir by Hindus could actually spark a revival of the Awami League. This is one of the concerns that this current establishment has. Hindus support Sheikh Hasina's Awami League party, and there are the radicals, the JMB and the others who believe that any more space for the Hindus to make their voice heard in Bangladesh could perhaps also fuel a resurgence of the Awami League. They fear international pressure to bring back Sheikh Hasina. There is an attempt to ban Hindu organizations like ISKCON deliberately, because ISKCON is an organized entity which has more than 800 temples, religious institutions across the world. And the last time around there were attacks on Hindus, the ISKCON, the world across made a noise, raised the noise, and the UN had to take cognizance. So that's the reason why there is an attempt to vilify ISKCON and aim to instill fear in the minds of the Hindu community, so that they don't raise their voice and they quietly either leave the country, move away, or succumb to the machinations of the radicals and the Islamists there. We play out certain portions of this. In fact, they say that the trader who was a local there, his family and he himself is involved with a radical outfit. And gold factories, jewelers, they were all looted. Equipment has been taken away, carted under the aegis of the army and the security personnel, and the security personnel tried to destroy all CCTV camera. And now the allegation further being made is that even now there is pressure on the locals to delete whatever video footage they have. Radha Raman Das, Vice President and Spokesperson ISKCON Kolkata is with us. Dr. Ankita Datta, researcher and columnist with us. Dr. Anand Ranganathan, scientist, author, political commentator with us. My namaste and jai hind to everybody. Thank you very much. Radha Raman Das ji, we've been able to connect with someone who's on ground, and some of the claims they are making is shocking. 2, 3, 4 lakh, 5 lakh taka have been taken before they were released. 150 odd people have been released, and the security personnel there have looted some of the shops, jeweler shops. This is all a very progressive and very happy location in Chittagong, which has a lot of Hindu population. And they are alleging this has been deliberately orchestrated. 2 or 3 instances have been orchestrated because this 8-point agenda of the Hindus there, that's been consistent. And because they have, this protest has been consistent, they want to diffuse this protest and kill it altogether. Radha Ramanji, can you hear me?
Actually, a temple puja is going on.
Ji.
So, yeah, so actually situation is very bad in Bangladesh, and I was just speaking with one devotee. So they are more concerned about tomorrow because they have got information that on Friday, Muslim and the Bangladeshi army, they are planning attacks on different Hindu temples. So this is very, very concerning information, and devotees there, they are very concerned that what will happen. What happened 2 days back, they never expected that the Bangladeshi army will join the Islamists and they will attack together Hindu minorities. Many Hindus, they are missing from their homes. Actually, the information there I am getting is that many Hindu families, they are searching for their people.
This person said 80 people are still in their custody.
Go search in hospitals. So they are just running here and there. So there is no clear information that they are alive or where they are. There was news that around 300 people they were missing, but yesterday police told that we have arrested only 80 people, and they are beating them like anything. And their main focus is to implicate ISKCON. They want to announce ISKCON as a terrorist organization. We saw the press conference of police, and they are saying that we have a video where we saw that people, they are chanting Jai Siya Ram. So it means that they are ISKCON devotees, and we are doing investigation, and ISKCON has done all this violence. So we also saw that a few days ago in Dhaka University, there were one press conference was held by Muslim students, and they demanded that ISKCON should be banned. So this is very shocking. I think ISKCON devotees are very fearful that the Bangladeshi army and the Muslim people there, they are planning to first ban ISKCON because they are thinking that ISKCON has become like a roadblock in their intention to finish off the remaining minorities of Bangladesh.
Not just a roadblock, I think it is also a fulcrum. That's what they are saying, that many sangatans which are present there, the Hindu institutions which are present there, along with ISKCON, they have all rallied together to make an 8-point demand. Speedy trial of tribunals against the atrocities, enact Minority Protection Act without delay, formation of the Ministry of Minority Affairs, elevate Hindu Welfare Trust to Hindu foundations, proper implementation of Property Recovery Act, construction of places of worship for minorities, modernization of Sanskrit and Pali education boards, 5 days holiday for Durga Puja. This is the 8-point demand that's being made, Dr. Ankita Datta, and this is what they want to quell. along with one of the aspects which they are saying that they want creation of two separate divisions which will be earmarked only for Hindus, where Hindus will be safe. Look at some of the videos that have come, they are shocking. We have had to even temper down the videos because the level of which they've been beaten up is shocking. There are audios about 20 to 50 meters away from the army camps. The voices of people shouting can be heard. There are videos of how a Swamiji there has been an attempt to even take him out, neutralize him. Assassination attempt on him, and the Swamiji has survived. Ankita Datta.
Yes. So first of all, we need to understand that there has been violence against Hindus in Bangladesh, all because of their Hindu identity. If we look at the trajectory of the recent incidents that have been taking place in quick succession, what we see is an escalated attempt to victimize and demonize the Hindu identity. The hatred for Hindu symbols, Hindus, and everything that is related to Hindu has been both subtle and open in Bangladesh now, and this blind hatred against Hindus is there on the surface. Selective targeting of organizations like ISKCON must be treated as a stark manifestation of Hindu hatred. And if we look into the past history of Bangladesh, this is certainly not a new phenomenon, and such atrocities happened even during the time of Sheikh Hasina, who, however, kept the terrorist groups at bay. Muhammad Yunus, on the other hand, there is a huge possibility that this person will turn a blind eye to all those radical extremist and northeastern insurgent groups who are using Bangladesh as a launch pad for their militant activities. And another problematic aspect here is the release of a large number of Islamic extremists, terrorists and criminals by the Yunus government, which is ignoring the Hindu minorities completely. And anti-India sentiment is the basic foundation on which this government stands. And as long as the radical Islamic groups exist in Bangladesh, Hindus can never lead a peaceful life in the country. Also, the geopolitical aspect of the violence, it certainly does not bode well for the stability of not just Bharat but entire Southeast Asia, which is caught in a kind of a pincer-like situation between the West and Chinese spheres of influence. And Chinese influence in Burma is now higher than ever before. It has almost reached the gates of Mandalay. The US is trying to counter this Chinese influence by setting up puppet regimes, and as well as by using Islamic radical terrorist groups and Christian missionaries to create spheres of influence so as to establish virtually remote control governments in countries like Bangladesh and Thailand. The Bangladesh crisis, it is a huge threat to our country, to Bharat, for our national security. Our Act East policy, mainly, it is impossible to implement in the current scenario, since many of the projects like the Khalistan project, the IMTT highway project, all these projects involved in the Act East policy, they pass through areas infested with militants belonging to diverse ethnicities and ideologies. And we should also understand that in the case of Bangladesh, religion is being used as a political tool, and appropriate measures need to be taken by the Indian government to address the situation in our country, particularly in terms of northeastern border security. And it is all the more important for Bharat now to preserve its demography.
But this agenda to try and take them out, to try and ensure forced submission, and an entity like ISKCON, they don't even have sticks inside their place. They are calling it a terrorist organization, and an international society for promoting Krishna consciousness. 800 temples across the world. Look what's being said, and it's shocking to see that instances like this are being dealt with the cops in cahoots, Dr. Ranganathan. And look at this person. This person, I had a long conversation. There were so many details that he shared, and he said, "Sir, please हमारा ऑडियो डिस्टॉर्ट कर दो, वो हमारी आवाज़ भी पहचानते हैं." That's the level of fear. I asked him, why aren't you talking to the government? They say, if I speak out, I will be either killed or I'll have to leave this country.
Good evening, Anand, and good evening to my fellow panelists. It's a very disturbing topic, but it has to be discussed, and thank you for discussing it. Thank you for this investigation. And so many truths have come out of it. but I have a couple of points to make. You quite correctly broadcasted that the Hindus of Bangladesh have made an 8-point demand to the government. I and the Hindus of Hindustan are making a single point demand to my government. Just get them home. Have a right of return. Our population right now is 1428 million people. What's a few million here and there? This is a historical injustice that has to be corrected. It has to be corrected through CAA. The Hindus of Bangladesh must be brought home. Lock, stock and barrel. Are we trying to reinvent the wheel out here? An Islamic Republic cannot stand any dissent, any fight, any coming up of anyone who is non-Muslim. We have seen this in country after country, and Bangladesh is no exception. The CAA, which was meant to give citizenship to Hindu refugees who are persecuted, millions of Bangladeshi Hindus who are in India right now, only 14 have been given citizenship through the CAA. More than that number came as Bangladeshi cricket players to our country. Anand, what are we talking about here? As I said, I'm repeating myself like a broken record, but I am no longer concerned about the Islamists and demanding rights from them, because I know that is of zero consequence and they're not going to change. They haven't changed for 1,000 years. I am now more concerned about demanding action from my government. It's been 4 months. How many relief, detention, whatever you may call it, camps have been set up this side of the border? So at least the fleeing, persecuted Hindus who are escaping certain death, rape, pillaging, looting can at least breathe a sigh of relief until their documents or etc. whatever are checked and they are allowed home. This is their natural home. Their home must be brought.
See, they are 7% of the population of Bangladesh. They believe that they are Bangladeshi. They at no point want to come to Bharat. What they are saying is, give us our own space in Bangladesh, just like you have created Bali in Indonesia. The world's largest Muslim population is there, but Hindus are safe because Bali is exclusively for Hindus. Name 2 divisions and we want to be there. Mark out these 2 divisions in Bangladesh. Allow us to remain in peace there, because we will continue to be under the flag of Bangladesh. That's the Bangladesh Hindu demand. One. Dr. Ranganathan, you fervently make this pitch and you are welcome to make that point of view. But the fact is that itself shows that the Islamists and the fundamentalists have, they can oust anybody and everybody who does not toe their land, and they can claim on those lands. Now this will only embolden Islamists and radicals further, and it will teach the Hindus to run away everywhere. Just run away from wherever you are. Or do you stand up to persecution and do you make so much noise that the world has to take notice and cannot turn a blind eye to it? That's another way of looking at it.
Three points to make here very briefly, Anand. You must realize the predilection of Hindus. Hindus are by their nature extremely tolerant. That is the reason why Hindus are Hindus. They need state protection. An Islamist state, especially one now, is never going to give them protection. Even in Bali, please remember, Hindus do not have the same rights that Muslims have. So it's a fact of life that in an Islamic Republic or an Islamic state or Muslim majority nation, Hindus will always be considered as second-rate, third-rate citizens. That is why India is the logical, rational place for them.
Yeah. But you are the one who is the author of the fact that author of the book which says that Hindus are 8th class citizens in Hindustan, and you are inviting more Hindus into Hindustan where you believe Hindus don't have the basic rights. So look at the irony of it all. But the fact is that there are those who are standing up to this kind of violence. There are those who are standing up to this kind of atrocity and who are saying let justice prevail. Even the fact that one of their demands, and I am reading this out, they say just at least bring in the Minority Act, at least put it into place. They are saying formation of the Ministry of Minority Affairs and say elevate this one, bring out the Minority Protection Act, enact the Minority Protection Act without delay. 2 basic fundamental rights that minorities are asking for in Bangladesh have been denied by a government which says we are benign, we are secular, we will not allow any communal agenda. This is what they are saying. Radha Raman Das ji, is ISKCON going to take a global cognizance? Are you going to take this?
Yes, of course. Actually, in 2021, when attack during Durga Puja happened, we protested all over the world, and we are approaching different governments also. We are writing to them, but unfortunately, we haven't got the response which Hindus should have got. So
Exactly.
Bangladeshi Hindus, they are like orphans. And when I speaking with them, they are very, very disheartened. When Donald Trump during Deepavali, when he commented on Bangladeshi violence, Bangladeshi became very, very hopeful, and they are very grateful to Donald Trump that he spoke about them. So there is a hope amongst Bangladeshi Hindus that Donald Trump will do something. Of course, America has a greater role in Bangladesh. What is happening right now there?
Radharaman Das
So
ji, Donald Trump will assume office only on the 20th of January 2025. There is 60 more days before that. And the other aspect is he said that before the elections happened. Did he say it for effect? Did he say it to turn the votes in his favor? We'll have to wait and watch what the US policy directly is and if there is a heavy influence even during this transition period. But around that, the point is there is no, one must stand for their rights. One must stand up for what they believe is right. Because Krishna himself has also said this, and our scriptures also say it, that dharmo rakshati rakshita. Those who stand up for dharma, dharma protects those. So that is something that you cannot turn to somebody else to protect you. One has to stand up and fight for what they believe is right, and within the rules of law and within the rules of what the engagement is, not crossing the boundaries or lines like the fundamentalists have. I have to wind up. I have limited time, sir. I just want to play out what Dr. Ankita and Dr. Ranganathan, please stay on. Just want to play out the eyewitness accounts, a short excerpt of what the local Bangladeshi Hindu locals spoke to us and told us here at CNN News 18.
आप लोग सब कहाँ पे हैं अभी? आप लोग सब वहाँ पर हैं, छुपे हुए हैं? क्या रीजन है कि आप लोग खुल के सामने नहीं आ रहे हैं?
ये सामने आएंगे तो बांग्लादेश में नहीं रह सकते हैं। बहुत सारे ऐसे लोग हैं बांग्लादेश को भागना पड़े, करोड़ों लोग हिंदुओं को भागना पड़े, तो हम सामने आएंगे तो हमको भागना पड़े और हमको मार दिया जाएगा। ऐसे ये जो अभी जो इंटरिम गवर्नमेंट चल रहा है, जो भी सही में, तो उसको साजिश से ही मुझे लगता है ये जो आर्मी ने, पुलिस ने जो यौथ वाहिनी जो अटैक किया, ये पूरा साजिश करके प्रिपेयर किया गया।
Short break here on the right stand. When we come back, Intel inputs expose a massive K plot. Are private gurudwaras being used, mobilized to generate funds? Is there an issue there in Canada? Stay with us. The attacks on Hindu temples and devotees has only escalated matters between Bharat and Canada. Justin Trudeau's government's inaction and a free run to K-goons is only making it even more adverse. Intel sources have revealed to CNN News 18 via our group editor Security Affairs, Manoj Kumar Gupta, that the Hindu temple attacks in Canada were planned meticulously and the directions possibly came from some in the top, very top echelons of the Canadian government, and that there were a handful, and then a handful were actually mobilized. Intel sources reveal that the state machinery was supporting the attackers, and this became even more evident after Canadian MP Chandra Arya's claim and the suspension of the Peel police officer Harinder Sohi. News 18 tells you how K extremists are actually misusing private gurdwaras. This is exclusive information, and there is a game being played here. Private gurdwaras are actually being managed by K extremists. There are those that are run by the SGPC, and these are private gurdwaras. And these gurdwaras managed by K-goons are seeing a drop in devotees because many of them don't want to be forced to bow in front of Bhindranwale or Talvinder Parmar, etc. Don't want to see arms, etc., where Guru Granth Sahib is being kept, or being forced to try and show adherence or deference to someone other than the 10 Gurus and Guru Granth Sahib. Now, Sikhs are staying away from such gurdwaras managed by these K-goons. Private gurdwaras run by K extremists are facing a funding crunch, and the K mobilization through private gurdwaras is also for a certain level of ISI funding. Manish Puri, spokesperson of the VHP in Canada, and Anand Ranganathan continue to stay on with us. Manish Puri, is this true that these private gurdwaras have now become a hotbed of activity for these K-goons, and a lot of gangsters and nefarious activity elements are actually coming to these places, and they are getting funding not from the devotees, not from local Sikhs, but from entities like the ISI?
Well, Anand, very difficult to say anything in particular about that. We don't have the intelligence like that. But what I would say is these K elements are definitely getting a lot of patronage. And if you look at how they are going about their work, it is very well organized. And you would think that they are very well funded. Funds should not be a problem for somebody who's got so much say across the administration, across law enforcement. They have got penetration into the entire ecosystem. Media, look at media in Canada is not going to call out the K elements behind the violence. They are keeping it at a very generic level, blaming both communities, unfortunately, for this type of violence. And that just shows that they've got deep-rooted connections across the board.
But are Sikhs in general at large avoiding these gurdwaras? Are they staying clear of these places? Because there are many other Sikh groups and Sikhs who have come out and very clearly said enough is enough. We don't want Sikhi to be given a bad name by these K-goons using the name of Khalistan and Sikhism.
Absolutely, Anand. We have so many friends, family, who are Sikhs, and they are disturbed by what is going on. You hear that day in and day out, how, distraught they are by these K-goons actually taking over Sikhi and showcasing that this is the Sikh religion, but it is not. So it is disappointing for them as well as the Hindus, because we are all one Sanatani family.
Dr. Ranganathan, your thoughts?
Yes, in the wonderful, before I make my very brief point, Anand, in the wonderful, I would say, an important, vital tradition that you started, and we've already done that twice over. The three images that every time you said we are going to discuss Khalistan, we are going to show. Let me show these three images. The first is the Sikh empire of Maharaja Ranjit Singh. You can see clearly out here, it has almost half of Pakistan. The second image is the proposed territory of Khalistan. It doesn't have an inch of Pakistani territory. It's a proof, if ever there was needed, who is sponsoring Khalistanis and Khalistan. And the third is the flag of Maharaja Ranjit Singh, which has Durga Ma at its center, flanked by Bhagwan Bhairav and Bhagwan Hanuman.
Yes.
So these are three images that you very rightly said, every time we discuss Khalistan, we're going to show this. And thank you for saying that, first of all. Number two, I think I need to applaud hundreds of Sikhs that came out day before yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, Manish correctly pointed out, to protest against the Khalistanis. They came out along with Hindus on the roads to protest saying this is unacceptable. So one needs to applaud the Sikhs, who are our brothers and sisters, who are one Sanatani. So things are on the bend. I would say things would change, but one would have to look at the writing on the wall. And the bare fact is, they are not just these fake Gurdwara sponsored, they are government sponsored. And as Manish rightly said, like the Islamists have maybe increasingly in parts of Europe, the Khalistanis have very cleverly, deliberately used the Islamist model to infiltrate amongst all pillars of democracy. The most worrying, of course, is the police, because one entity that is still trusted in the West and till few years ago in Canada and of course in North America was the police. And here you saw how brazenly Khalistani elements off duty were actually joining in the protest and vandalizing the temple. So unless that changes, I'm afraid we're looking at a needle in a haystack, Anand.
True, we've put out the battle flag of Raja Ranjit Singh that depicts the Ashtapuja Chandi. They flanked by both Mahadev, that is Shiva, and also Hanuman. So this is the whole battle flag of Maharaja Ranjit Singh. There is also the map. We will put out that like we've promised, that the map, and also the Brahma Kavach. So that's the Brahma Kavach in front of you. The Brahma Kavach that very clearly it is found in the Dasham Granth of Guru Gobind Singh Ji. That's the map of Khalistan, which does not represent anything of the erstwhile Raja Ranjit Singh's empire, with the capital in Lahore. And all of those domains which are in Pakistan, including Nankana Sahib, Panja Sahib, and also Kartarpur Sahib, none of this is part of Khalistan. Neither are the areas which are part of Gilgit and today Chinese occupied territory, or those parts in Afghanistan. So none of that is present there. So that itself buries this entire Khalistani Cape bogey altogether. It's nothing but a machination or a figment of imagination from within the ISI factory. But the original Sanatan Sikh combined, we will continue to highlight here. Thank you very much. Before we end this segment, a quick word on the condemnation that's come from Shri Ravi Shankar.
This is so unfortunate. Canada is a place of peace where people of all culture, religions have been living there for so many years in harmony. And these acts should be condemned by one and all. These acts should never be repeated. And people who are responsible for such acts should be really booked, should face the consequences. These people are so stupid. They are not only insulting the Hindus, but they are insulting the Sikh gurus. The 10 Sikh gurus have given their life to protect the temples, to protect the Sanatan culture. The Hindu family gave one of their family members to the Guru to fight the war against injustice and such terrorism and extremism. They are insulting Sikh gurus and their mission. That's so unfortunate that such thing happened. I think it's sheer lack of ethics. I would ask everyone to be restrained, have patience in this time.
It has been more than a year and a half since the ethnic violence in Manipur broke out. Though the violence, as per reports, has been contained, tensions continue to simmer. And since the violence erupted on the 3rd of May last year, over 60,000 people have been displaced. Among the displaced, over 24,000 are children under 18. And all they want is to return, largely, mainly to the Imphal Valley. Now, we've connected with displaced people who narrate their ordeal and await normalcy. The question is, when will they get to return to their homes? But first up, listen to their plea.
हमारा जीरीबा में नूनखान करके एक विलेज था, उस विलेज में मेरा रबर प्लांटेशन और वेटनट प्लांटेशन का बगान है। उस बगान में रात में ई और मार मिलिटेंट लोग आके बगान का 2 घर जला दिया है। एक घर में हमारा बगान का देखने के लिए मुस्लिम फैमिली रहता है। वो लोग फैमिली को रात में आके बाहर में निकाल के घर में घुस के घर का अंदर में जितना सामान है वो लोग जला दिया है। जलाने के बाद में घर भी जला दिया है। उसके बाद में उसका बगल में गोदाम था, वो गोदाम में रबर शीट रखता था और रबर शीट को पहले जला दिया है, उसके बाद में गोदाम को भी जला दिया है। वो दोनों घर जलाने के बाद में वो लोग, हमारा बगान का बगल में एक मणिपुरी रहता था, उसका नाम जोनी सिंह है, वो मारने के लिए वो लोग गया था और जोनी सिंह वो लोग को चुपचाप देख लिया था और जोनी सिंह उसका घर का खिड़की से भाग के जंगल में चला गया था और कुछ लोग मिलिटेंट लोग आके वो घर में घुस के घर का इतना सामान है वो जला दिया है। जलाने के बाद में उसका घर भी जला दिया है।
जून का डेट 7 से कुकी और मार टेररिस्ट ने हम लोग का घर सब जला के हम लोग अभी बोरबेगा पुलिस स्टेशन में हम रिलीव करके रह रहा है। होने से भी जो हम लोग लगभग इधर 15-16 डेज इधर रह चुका है। हम लोग इधर रहने के बाद भी अभी जो सेंट्रल फोर्स जो हमारा आसाम फल जो सब CRPF सब अभी डिप्लॉय करके इधर में रह रहा है। होने से भी हमारा आसपास में पुलिस स्टेशन के आसपास जो 700-600 मीटर जैसा में हम लोग गार्ड मणिपुरी के घर अभी भी चल रहा है।
लाउदना अददेगे खोंगदना तौरगा मैसे थागले अखोइदी खुलाइसु लैतरे अदि मोइन पीस थम्मिबने हाइदना पोचै सोमत सुहंतोक्तरे अखोइदी अखोइना अदुक्कि मथिक तोलगा अखोइसे लैरे मखोइना नोंमै कापतना मैदो थारगा अखोइना युम मैदो साकपगी थमोइदुदि कयाबदा साइ मतमदुदा अखोइसे लैसु लैतरे अखोइसे अदुगा ngasiba akoina akoigi sida laigada seraugi haina haina takthokna leire aduga aikoigi napatki di lalofai hairiba jaga si laibani na moina hujik chungha leire nongmai kapsilak.
Dr. Ankita Datta and Dr. Anand Ranganathan with us. We've got many more written testimonies and some of those details are quite shocking and controversial, if I may say so, because they actually point fingers at multiple entities and what's happening in Manipur at this point. Dr. Ankita Datta, you've been tracking this very closely, a lot of them, and we're given to understand, in fact, none of them, these testimonies and people who have spoken out, have been brave enough to speak out, have even dared to go back to Manipur. They are all in different parts of Bharat.
Yes. So this a person from the testimony from Jiribam is that place, a major point of connectivity connecting Manipur with Assam and other states of the northeast. And in Jiribam, there have been attacks on people where militant groups have sneaked behind the line of defense. They have moved into houses and managed to kill people while they were sleeping. They have even managed to burn down schools and healthcare centers in Jiribam and also, in fact, so many other places. So, see, it is very clear now that the state government of Manipur alone cannot handle this crisis. It is already out of control at the moment, and even if Chief Minister Biren Singh is provided with a unified command without full-fledged military operations involving multiple concentric circles enveloping the hills of Manipur, cutting off all the escape routes, there is just no way to resolve this crisis. But unified command will only be a hold on the situation where you form a defensive perimeter efficiently and keep that bleeding to a minimum. But let me be clear here that this won't solve the problem of Manipur in the long term. because the defensive outlook which currently the government has adopted has led to a dire situation on the ground, as we can see, because it is allowing the heavily armed Kuki militants to pick and choose where and when to strike. They are creating small teams almost every day. They are moving into selected areas and launching high intensity, high profile attacks, mostly hit and run attacks, and they are able to get away with it, which is all the more worrisome because of the lack of, this has been happening because of the lack of proactive military operations. So simply peacekeeping operations, which is akin to patrolling, that is simply not enough. We need proper combing operations, maybe even stricter combing operations than that of Chhattisgarh, which was launched against the Maoists in areas like Dantewada. And this has to be the bare minimum, and it has got to have multiple layers. And also, I think I had mentioned this earlier as well, that before launching full-scale military operations, the leftists and other anti-India forces operating in full swing in the Manipuri society, working against Bharat day in and day out for fulfilling their own vested interests, these sections of the society need to be contained first. And yes, the Manipuri society is angry with the central government at present. Their anger with the government is rightly justified, because there has been a policy paralysis. There has been indecisiveness going on for a long time now, especially with regard to the highly controversial SU, that is the suspension of operations agreement with the Kuki militants. And this is leading to a dangerous mix of, anti-national sentiments. There is desperation and frustration among all. Whenever I speak to people, there is, from the younger lot to the older generations, they have lost hope. And during this time, another dangerous aspect is the resurgence of the Meitei militant groups like the UNLF, which were almost already dead or buried. But at present, they have managed to hijack a significant portion of the movement. So there is utter chaos in the field. The militant groups are trying to recruit people into their fold with an anti-national agenda and use these people for some other purposes, which is certainly not good for Bharat.
See, it lends into a very geopolitical realm along with the ethnic strife,
Right.
and we'll talk about this. Look at the arms and ammunition, Dr. Ranganathan and Dr. Ankita Datta and viewers, that's been seized in just the recent past. 2nd of October in Tengnopal, 21 IEDs, 42 country-made grenades. Can we just put that detail out there? 21 IEDs, 42 country-made grenades, 7 hand grenades. I'm just going to wait for that to come up on the screen. This is what I'm reading out. The arms and ammunition seizure in Manipur. October 2nd in Tengnopal, 21 IEDs, 42 country-made grenades, 7 hand grenades. Then 16th of October, Churachandpur. You had AK-47 and SLR rifles, 36 grenades and tube launchers. October 17th, rifles, ammunition, mobile phones that have been caught. Then October 20th, 9mm pistol, grenades, ammunition. 22nd October, local made mortars, pistols, explosive material. Again, October 24th, Insar's rifles, grenades, magazines. Okay, October 25th in Bishnupur, pistols, grenades and radios. October 27th, sniper rifle, 9mm pistols and hand grenades. October 28th, Taubal, AK rifles, AN-M16 and ammunition. October 31st, rockets, mortars and improvised bombs. November 1st, grenades, demand letters and SIM cards. November 5th, rifles, pistols and hand grenades. Now, this is what's been caught. Now, this is not the whole lot or the whole extent of what's been caught. Also, today in Mizoram, on the Serchib Tenzwal Road, a mobile vehicle checkpost on the 6th of November, that's yesterday, troops have intercepted a vehicle, thoroughly searched it, apprehended 2 individuals in possession of 9,600 gelatin sticks, 9,400 detonators and over 1,800 meters of cortex. Now, my point is Manipur and Mizoram are very next to each other, and we've just had recently what the Mizoram Chief Minister had said. There is huge amount of trouble brewing. Here you have victims who can't go back. There are others, there are counter forces which are again regrouping. arms, ammunition, ethnic strife can turn into a huge national security issue very soon.
Anand, very briefly, 3 points to make. I think the Northeast is fast turning out to be as tragic an example as you could ever find of the currently popular adage, "Batenge to katenge." As simple as that. And the tragedy is, I completely agree with Dr. Datta out here. The fact is, there has been complete paralysis on the part of the governments, center and state. But it's not just the BJP governments. It is the Congress governments traditionally for the last 20 years. I mean, this problem is not new. The policy paralysis and paralysis action for that is also, the blame also has to be taken by the Honorable Court, because it redacted what it had requested, a white paper on whether Meitei should be given a tribal ST status. That has been their demand for 60 years. No government has had the courage to address this, least of all the governments of BJP and the Congress. Now, the second point I want to make, how the situation is being, rather than being solved, it's being muddled even more. Did you know very recently, couple of weeks ago, 10 MLAs who are Kuki Zo MLAs demanded to carve out a separate union territory, and 7 of them are BJP MLAs. I don't know what the devil is going on out here, Anand. This is over and above what you correctly mentioned, that the sitting Chief Minister of Mizoram wants to carve out a territory that has parts of Bangladesh, parts of Myanmar and parts of India. It's another matter that his speech that is gaining traction of 4th September, 2 days before that, he said this nation would be within India, but he has left it ambiguous whether 2 days later did he mean within India or outside of India. In any case, you can see what I'm trying to portray out here. Somebody needs to take this whole situation by the scruff of its neck and solve it, because this is tragedy heaped upon tragedy, Anand.
No, and not just that, even if it is within Bharat, it is also questioning the territorial integrity of the state of Manipur.
Correct.
And that is why the Kokomi have also come out and very clearly condemned the statement that's been made. But there is something that's brewing that we need to be mindful of, Dr. Ankita Datta. There is an issue which we have to address like today. We can't just brush it under the carpet and try and just simmer the tempers down and say that all is well. That's not going to solve this. There is drug money, there is an international cartel, there is a Western hegemony, there is a Chinese or an Eastern hegemony, and of course there are these evangelical entities who are working on their own machinations. Now, if you put all of this together, we have a serious issue. Unless these ethnic communities come together and they all come under the tricolor that is Bharat, we have a serious problem on hand. And 60,000 people displaced. And they have not even got the right to come back to their own valley, their own homes in Imphal. Dr. Datta, final word.
Yeah, so what my fellow co-panelist has just mentioned, the demand for the separate administration, and what you also mentioned, Anandji, about the evangelical interest. So this demand, this is interlinked. So the demand for separate administration, it was raised by the Kuki Zo BJP MLAs of Manipur last year, and immediately it had found support from the political parties of Mizoram. Mizo politicians like Julie Lalrat Feli or Mafeli Laundo, who is the daughter of a pastor herself, these people have repeatedly talked about the Kuki Chin Mizos being one people and sharing a common Kuki ancestry, and this is how they have been continuously justifying their demand for Kuki land, which they call by so many names such as Zofate, Zoland, which is nothing but a dangerous conspiracy manufactured by the church in collaboration with a well-educated and politically influential section of the society and their followers backed by foreign powers. And these church-backed Chin Kuki Mizo extremists, they are a threat. They are a threat to the very existence of the Hindu civilization in the Northeast and the unity and territorial integrity of Bharat. The divisive and supremacist religious teachings of the church, they have not only destroyed the indigenous belief systems of the various Vanvasi communities in the Northeast, but also led to a deep sense of hatred among them towards those communities who are still Hindus. Like, for example, the Meitei and Vishnupriya Manipuri Hindus, the Riyangs, the Hajongs, the Chakmas, etc. And this hatred initially it manifests itself in the demand for a separate district or in the demand for a separate autonomous council, and gradually it evolves into the demand for an exclusive and separate homeland or a separate Christian country, like what is brewing in Manipur
Right.
that we see today.
No,
Yes.
not just that. There are also rich deposits, mineral deposits in this region, which is the unsaid lure,
Certainly.
along
Yes.
with a strategic intent that if there is a separate area that's carved out, which comes under a certain hegemonistic control, then they have the right to form their own base and take these aspects to a separate geopolitical dimension that was highlighted even by Sheikh Hasina. We will get into that and the larger impact of whatever is happening in this region. Look at it from a broader prism in the coming days. For the moment, I have to wind up the conversation. Dr. Ankita Datta and Dr. Anand Ranganathan, thank you very much. Thank you. Let's go straight across to Washington, D.C. Zaka Jacob is still in the US of A as the dust settles and as Elon Musk put it, the sun rises in America. What's the story? What's the tone? There are many who are lamenting. There are many who are celebrating. Have you been able to speak to either of these sides, Zaka? And what's the perspective for us here in Bharat?
Well, clearly it is a bright, red, sunny morning in America. It's been 2 days since that election landslide, that Republican tsunami, and a stunning comeback by Donald Trump, the 45th president. He will now go on to become the 47th president of the United States. I think it fundamentally alters America's politics, Anand, because I think for the first time since Ronald Reagan, you have a mainstream Republican politician who has created his own social coalition. Trump's victory, and he's swept all 7 states, he's won the popular vote at last count by over 5 million votes or so. His victory in its depth, in its breadth, in its spread is absolutely phenomenal. It can only be compared to the 1984 victory of Ronald Reagan. Of course, in Electoral College numbers terms, it would be a little less. But then the fact is that he's put together for the first time since Ronald Reagan a social coalition that includes not just white working class people, but Hispanic working class people, African American working class people, young people. We talked a lot about the Gen Z vote. A lot of the young male voters seem to have gone for Donald Trump. But on the show tonight, we will be talking not so much about what it means for America domestically. We will be talking about what